Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play Painted Live. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday evening. Welcome to the show. And here we go, people. What is up? We're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4, and why you're rooting for the wrong side. You idiot. Why you're rooting for the wrong side. Why Cersei, you need to be Team Cersei if you have any logic or any capacity to reason other than Mafeel's. Yeah, your Game of Thrones theory is bad. Mine is better. I'm just kidding. God. But we are here to make some cogent arguments about why you should be Team Cersei on Game of Thrones. You should be. I think you should be. But anyway, I am gonna go open up my comment section because why not? And we're gonna paint some faceless stuff. Like maybe not for long, but let's see how our comment section looks. Nobody's on yet. Okay. And we're gonna talk about some Throneses, and I'm gonna view this on the watch page. Bad streaming is bad. All right. Can I mute this sucker? Yeah, it's already muted. Cool. Okay. So I don't know if I'm gonna paint this guy just yet. Look at that little kid, like I don't sell this paper. And here's those other two. We got the dunce cap. We got this guy. He's the little Martin Prince. Oh, Game of Thrones! Let me tell you about my man Tyrion. Oh, he's so smart. And then he does the dunce cap. My queen, we should not invade while we have all the advantages in the world. Anyway. Okay, so let us go ahead. Okay, so now all right. All right, so I did post this on my Facebook feed, and we're drawing out the dummies. We're drawing out the but she's a bad guy. You to be bad guy, bad. So, so here's the meme I posted on my feed. Cersei is the most competent ruler on Game of Thrones. And the challenge is up, people. Change my mind. She is by far the best ruler on Game of Thrones because your other options are incredibly stupid, reckless with your life, completely vain, and bad. Bad, folks. Also, we are going to check out. We got a cool thing at the hobby shop today. Let me see if I can find it. It was cool, and I came home with it, and then we're going to see if I actually put it in a place that I can access. I think I did. There it is. All right. So we're going to check this out, right? So apparently D&D has partnered up with Army Painter, and they're going to make a line of paints for D&D, which I don't think is any different formula from Army Painter. They're just doing some very clever cross-filling at this point, and that's so we're going to use that on some of these red eyes here. We're going to see how that goes. Okay, so and I might use red on some of the detail here. I guess I should finish painting a little bit more of Martin Prince here, but he's going to be. I'm going to give him dark hair. So, anyways, if you're just joining the feed, let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. Like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones. because why not? Because it's the hot thing to talk about, people. So we're going to talk about that. Um, episode 4 was in my opinion, it was better than episode 3, which is sad because I'm supposed to like battles. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, I play war games. I want to see battles. I want to see but I want to see good battles. Like, you know what I mean? That was almost like episode 3 was like watching the two worst 40K players in the world try to play a game. And one, there was one that was less dumb and therefore deserved to win. But then, 40K has these stupid unbalanced rules, and somebody just Deus Ex Machina their way. They rolled like 3 6s. I killed your Warcaster. It was basically War Machine. Yeah, that's what it was. It was War Machine, and some guy crit a Warcaster and one shot the Warcaster right, but like it was like right before they were gonna lose their Warcaster, but they had wiped out their army in the process. So that's what was going on there. But yeah, I'm sorry, but I do like to stir up a little controversy online with my unconventional opinions on Game of Thrones and everything. I mean, I think I have I like to think, anyways, that my opinions are fairly unconventional across the board. Like I think about things, I think differently than most people do, uh, because most people are. I think, in my opinion, most people are kind of clouded by what they perceive to be morality, especially Americans. Americans like to think that we are morally superior to other people, and we don't mind using that to subjugate other people. That's something that Americans, Westerners, um, have historically done very well. But now there are factions all over the world that are doing that very well, subjugating people through moral, through perceived moral superiority. We'll just put it that way. So we're gonna paint little Martin Prince here. He's doing his shirt up white. He's gonna have a nice white shirt there. I guess that's a vest. So is the rest of? I wonder if that. I wonder that shirt. No, that's like a jacket. It's like a jacket. We'll paint that. Okay, so let's do that. Let's give him dark hair. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments on that last episode of Game of Thrones, spoilers, if you haven't watched the episode yet, it's probably still, if you're on the West Coast, it's still ending. So you have about 20 minutes to watch the last bit of it, which is actually some of the best parts of the episode are in the last 20 minutes. So yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into why, like I said, Cersei is the best ruler on Game of Thrones. And if I had to choose someone to rule over me today of those three characters, I would choose Cersei, right? Because and let me break this down for you. Because yes, I think Jon Snow would definitely have what he thinks are my best interests at heart, but he's likely to get me killed in a very dumb battlefield decision. You know what I mean? Even though I'm a civilian, he would go, I got this great idea for defending King's Landing. Let's put all the civilians out in the front, and let's put the artillery out there with them too, and then no one will be in the castle. Like that's so. While I might like Jon Snow's public appearances and go, oh, what a moral man, what a wonderful king, and all this stuff, he's gonna get me killed or gonna lose the kingdom the minute he has to make any more military decisions, because he's absolutely the worst general I've seen on film. You need look no further than Battle of the Bastards or the Long Night to see just how awful his military planning is. So, no, Jon Snow would not be a good leader. Okay, he would not be a good leader. Besides, he doesn't want it. Although I think that him not wanting it does, I do agree that that does make him a good leader or a good candidate for leader. Um, you obviously don't want Dany as leader. I think of the three characters that are sort of in contention for the throne, I think Dany is the absolute worst leader. She would be, because, and I'll put it to you this way: Dany has won a number of battles in her day and never really been challenged at all. Um, for most intents and purposes, she's never really been challenged. But her whole idea of "I have a name, give me the crown, please," is just not something I don't think anybody in their right mind should ever follow. Like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That would be like, you know, that would be like Jeb Bush winning the election because he's Jeb Bush. I'm related to a Bush. Vote for Jeb. And and some people were interested in voting for Jeb because of that reason. But it's not a good reason. It's not a good reason. And for somebody who is like, let's break the wheel, I intend to end tyranny forever. Well, that bitch been pretty tyrannical, if you ask me, because because she has completely altered the Dothraki in their way of life, and she's like, you can't have your culture anymore. And granted, I shudder to say that raping and pillaging and enslaving people is a culture, but I just don't think that that's. I think from the perspective of a Dothraki, what did they really gain following Dany? Well, nothing, nothing at all. They didn't even gain glory. Like, not only do they not get to do what Dothraki do when they conquer another village or town or whatever, they don't even get to do that. They didn't even get glory. Like, the Dothraki rated that their only real win, only real W in Westeros was the attack on the Gold Train or whatever, I forget what it was called. That season 7 thing where Dany went and burned all the Tarleys alive. Um, like, the Dothraki came and tore the Lannister army to shreds in the open field. And if you think about it, that was literally one of the best battles fought on the side of the good, quote unquote good guys. Like, that was the best battle that they fought, and it had absolutely no planning done by any mans whatsoever. There was no Tyrion mans that was involved in planning that. There was no there's no Jon Snow, obviously worst military commander on the show. There's none of that. So Dany won one fight for her Dothraki once. They didn't even really get to have any sort of glory in that moment. You know what I mean? They weren't really. If they did, the show never really bothered to explore it. It was just sort of, yeah, they did their thing. But wouldn't Dothraki, like, wouldn't they be taking scalps? Wouldn't it, like, the first time they got to kill Westerosi soldiers, like, they should be able to take scalps, take skulls. They should take horses. They didn't get to be Dothraki, right? The whole thing is pretty fanboy and it's pretty idyllic and it's pretty naive, actually. Let's bring a bunch of, let's bring this nomadic, admittedly savage group of people over to Westeros, and let's because one whammon asked them to, they're going to give up their complete way of life and they're going to neuter themselves, and then they're not, on top of it, they're not even going to get to have any glory. And I think if you're going to take one final thing from the Dothraki, that would be it. Like to take their ability to earn glory the way they want to earn glory. And then at the end of it all, to be killed off by one completely stupid decision to put light cavalry at the front of the army and charge headlong into the dark. Like, I don't understand people that are still defending this stuff. It's blowing my mind. I'm really shocked by it. Like, people that are like, oh no, that was a great idea. Wargamers, and that's what I was laughing about during my last feed. The wargamers that were like, no, it's a great idea. Don't fight in the castle. Like that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. If you're a wargamer and you thought that the tactics used were good in episode 3, I'm going to say this, and please thumb down the video, because that'll tell me that you heard it. You actually heard me say this, at least. That it actually stung a little bit to hear, and that you've heard this. But again, let me be very clear here. If you are a wargamer that abides any of the tactics used in episode 3, you need to find a new hobby. Okay? You need to. It's time to hang it up, people. That's the end of it. That's like all she wrote. You know what I mean? Like, that would be me being like, oh, I want to rebuild cars. Why don't we leave this? Why don't we leave the drive shaft out of the engine? That would be me saying something like that. Like, oh, my hobby is rebuilding cars. Oh yeah, what do? I don't build the engine. And just it's the best strategy ever when building cars. You would tell me to go find a new hobby. You would be like, dude, look, I like you, I respect you, but building cars is not something you should ever do because you're not good at it. And that's like even somebody not involved in ever building cars would say that, yeah, if you try to build a car and you don't build the engine, then maybe you should hang it up, right? That's the equivalent. That is the moral equivalent of what we're saying here. If you are a wargamer with any shred of self-respect and any logical sense about you, and you think that any of the tactics used in episode 3 are valid military tactics, hang it up, dude. Just go sell your models or just paint them and enjoy them. I'm cool with that. But like, never, ever, ever walk up to a wargaming table and put your models down and expect to win a game, because everyone in the room is now dumber for having seen you do a tactic like that. At no point in your incoherent, absolute failure and misery of a game did you ever make sense. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is it harsh? Absolutely, but come on, man. Come on. Open field superiority better than field advantage with a full cast. Oh my God. What's up, Nelson? I am trolling the shit out of fanboys right now on Game of Thrones, and it's my only entertainment. It's my only form of entertainment with this show. The show is really, really stupid and needs to end. And it's bad. Like, it's objectively bad. And I know we don't agree on Star Wars, and I say Star Wars is objectively bad. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how bad Game of Thrones is. It's a dumb show with a bad premise, and everybody's rooting for the bad guys right now. Everybody's rooting for the bad guys right now. There's somebody on my feed right now. Everyone said it's so good. My wife and I never agree on Thrones. Like, she watches Thrones for my reactions, and she has all the emotional reactions to it, And I'm like, no, this is dumb and bad. And I point out shit to her that is upsetting for her to hear. And then she looks back on it and goes, well, that's actually objectively true. Right? That's objectively true. Uh, yeah. I think I triggered a few of my friends by saying Cersei is the most capable leader on the show. The main bad guy. Like at this point, the main bad guy has done more for the kingdom than either of the good guys. Now, I will say though that obviously fighting against the Great War is important, right? Fighting the undead and killing the Night King is very important. But you can't really credit anyone with that other than the only people you can credit for winning the Great War are you can credit Bran for actually being right about the Night King wanting to come and get him. So you can credit him for that. You can credit Theon in Bran's direct defense, and then obviously you can credit Arya for actually getting in the kill shot, right? John and Danny did things, and they had they were the ones that put the army out on the field, and they were the ones that had blown up a bunch of whites out in the field. But ultimately, that was a losing fight, and they knew it was a losing fight. Not only did they jump headfirst into that losing fight, but they employed poor tactics in that losing fight. And I disagree that that was a losing fight. I think they had everything in their capability to win that fight. And I think to go into a battle strategy without thinking you can win the fight when you have some serious advantages on your side, I think that makes you a bad ruler. I think that makes you a bad general. But yeah, I need to apologize to my friends that really love, and my wife obviously, that really love this stuff and really really get into it. Like, I'm sorry, but I see past bullshit. Okay, I see past hype. It is a blessing and a curse, my friends, to see past hype, because when you see something, everybody's on an emotional high. They're all hype. Oh God, it reminded me of that thing, and I saw it again. It's so good. And they're dumb and they're wrong. And the minute you point out that things are bad, and you can defend that on the basis of logic, and they can't argue with you about that, then it's over for them, because they can continue going on and liking that thing, but it's always going to be in the back of their mind now, like, oh shit, Octave's right. In Star Wars, there are two sides. There's the Empire and the side that keeps making the Empire stronger. shit. You know what I mean? There's in Game of Thrones, Danny and Jon are the bad guys. Tyrion is the dumbest advisor on the show. Jon is the worst military commander on the show, and basically everyone's sitting around waiting for Arya to save them all. That's the show. And big theory: Tyrion, smarter than everyone, is thinking, Cersei's pregnant with Jaime's child. He's trying to cause inner conflict between Euron and Cersei. No, Tyrion is either phenomenally dumb or he is really on Team Cersei. Okay? Tyrion is either phenomenally dumb or on Team Cersei. And I can defend that. All of Tyrion's decisions post season 5 have done nothing, zero, to strengthen Dany's position. The minute he was named Hand of the Queen, everything he has decided has been wrong, 100% wrong. And even in this last episode, you know what? You want to know why Missandei died? Missandei died because Tyrion had the bright idea of trying to parlay with Cersei. That's right. I said it. He has aided in getting Missandei killed. If they had not parlayed with Missandei, then you wouldn't have that hostage standoff situation that they had. They could have tried to take the city with or without, and Cersei wouldn't be able to use that as a bargaining chip, and just killed her right away. Not only that, it is. I mean, the one thing that Cersei did make a mistake this episode is she should have just shot. She should have ordered everyone to fire right there. Dany walking up there was completely stupid. They walked up there with the equivalent of like 20 Unsullied. 20 Unsullied. They walked up to the walls of King's Landing where they had scorpions set up on all the walls. They had archers set up on the walls. There is zero, she's going there to demand her surrender. Is there a logical reason why, at the very least, Cersei shouldn't have killed Tyrion in that moment? Can you name one reason why Cersei would not want to kill Tyrion in that moment? She's wanted to kill Tyrion most of her life, and she did not. And that's the only thing I will say. Okay, Cersei, you screwed up. Should have killed him right there. Should have killed him, and you should have fired on Dany and them, because you just, if you could have ended that war right then and there and saved thousands, hundreds, and thousands of lives, or a million lives in King's Landing, if you'd shot Dany to death right there. If you'd done that, and that would have been Tyrion Lannister line of thinking. So she did screw up right there. They should have done it, killed Dany, roll credits. They should have just done that. That was Cersei's mistake. See Euron's face when Tyrion kept bringing up the child. Missandei doesn't matter in the overall conflict. Of course, Missandei doesn't matter, but he's still part and parcel to her death. Chivalry warfare, for the same reason she didn't kill Dragon in that face-off. She should have though. Chivalry of warfare. No, that's not. There's no logical reason. You can't use the word chivalrous or honorable and Cersei in the same sentence. You can't. Cersei doesn't even care about her citizens. Why? Because Jaime said so? That's your reasoning, right? I agree with you. Cersei doesn't care about her citizens. And you know what? Jon and Dany love their citizens. They do. They love the people they rule over. It's too bad that they get them all killed. It's just, you know what I mean? Would you rather have a president that doesn't give a shit about you, but hey, you're doing okay, or a president that loves you so much that they get you killed every chance that they can? Who cares? She doesn't care about her citizens. No, she does not care about her citizens. But guess what? She cares about her children. She cares about her child. And a mother protecting her child is going to rule better in her own self-interest than either of those two morons, one of which is just completely vain, going for her only claim to the throne right now is, I have a name. And guess what? We all know that name isn't shit. Her claim isn't even that strong. It's not even the strongest claim. So we're supposed to support her for doing what? For displacing two cultures, Dothraki, Unsullied, displacing two cultures into Westeros, potentially leading a barbarian horde into Westeros, and then at the same time mistreating that barbarian horde by not letting them honor their own cultures and traditions. I'm supposed to be sympathetic to that. That's the good guy. That's the good guy. Come on, man. Think objectively here. Objectively. Get your fucking feelings off and just think about objectively. If you were a Westerosi citizen, in whose hands are you the best hands right now? That bitch queen, what did she do? She blew up a bunch of oppressive religious leaders and the people that were responsible for getting the last king murdered. So how is that bad? She drained the swamp, dude. She cleared the debt, and then she respent the debt to defend the land against an imminent invading threat. And you want to tell me, oh, she should, like, if you were a citizen of Westeros, do you really think, just say it with a straight face? Oh yes, I want Cersei to surrender to this Targaryen person I know nothing about, who was the daughter of the last king that burnt us all alive because of her name. Just say it out loud to yourself and look in the mirror and see that the bullshit is not pouring out of your eyeballs when you say it. That's so that's like, we're supposed to root for that. We're supposed to root for this chick that's like, I freed the slave, now come die so I can sit on this fucking iron chair. Really? Really? That's the morality this show is trying to force on us. Come on, man. So I try to say, though, I'm agreeing with you, Cersei. Yeah, she's in it for her own good, but guess what? In this case, we know. I think it's foolish in real life and on Game of Thrones to ever think for a second that a ruler is not in it for their own self-interest. You have to understand that first and foremost. The politicians that you love, no, I love the politicians, they're really looking out for the people. Fuck that. That's mistake one. If you honestly believe that that's that's what is going on with politics, you need to hang that shit up. Nobody in politics is in politics for your good. They're in it for their good. Okay. And the only thing you can really work on is making sure that their good benefits you more than somebody else's self-interest. That's politics rule 101. So to support any kind of candidate for anything because, oh, they're moral high ground, like, it's to fucking hang up. Find a new hobby, like learn a new thing. Stop, because you're hurting people. anyway, I and don't get me wrong, I think Cersei is an awful person. Of course she's an awful person. Of course she's a bitch, but compare her. People are like, oh, she put the crown in debt. Word? Because the crown was in debt since season 1. With Robert Baratheon, the crown was in debt. The crown was in debt under Joffrey. The crown was in debt under Tommen. The crown has always been in debt. This is like a president coming up to us saying, hey guys, I just cleared the national deficit. Okay. And you'd be like, holy shit, that's amazing. And then that president says, but I had to spend that exact amount on national defense because guess what? There is an armed military faction with nuclear weapons on our mainland threatening to take over our country. Okay? That's what she did. And people, oh, she's a bad ruler. She doesn't give a shit about her people. Are you fucking kidding me? Tell me with a straight face that a president tells you that this is what's going on in your nation, and you're going to be like, you know what? Our president's doing wrong. What they need to do is surrender immediately because I heard it's Daenerys Targaryen. She's a good person. She's a good person, you guys. This is moral. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Like, if a president cleared the deficit and then rebuilt the deficit so that you don't have to deal with an invading mainland force threatening to overthrow your entire government, you're going to say that's a bad ruler? Hell no. Come on, man. You're no worse off than you were before. And in fact, you finally have somebody that's actually, yes, due to her own self-interest, but she's actually going to end up protecting you and yours. So Jerome finds out it's not his kid. Shit's going to go down there using each other for own benefit. That's my initial theory of saying Tyrion is smarter. Man. I have a hard time seeing that. I mean, Tyrion, recall that it was Tyrion's ideas that got Yara and Theon captured, that destroyed the Iron Fleet. It was his ideas that lost Dorne, that lost the Tyrells and lost Highgarden. It was his idea to go capture the White up north of the Wall that that got Viserion killed and gave the Night King the ability to take the wall down. Like, what big fuck ups on the show at this point are not because of Tyrion? Answer that question. Tyrion is the worst advisor in the entire show. And I mean, the whole when they had a serious advantage crossing the sea. They had that one. They had that shit won. And he's like, well, wait, let's take Casterly Rock. That'll hurt them. And then they end up, they try to do that, and they end up losing the last of the Tyrells, and they lose the Iron Fleet at the same time. Holy shit, man! Like, people have been hanged for lesser mistakes than that. Give me a break, dude. Like, that is phenomenally poor decision making. Like, nobody gets to keep their job after that. Citizens, of course, they don't know that. That was the whole part of the strategy, trying to starve out the city and make them turn against her. Maybe, but that strategy has since failed, hasn't it? I mean, that's almost kind of a crueler fate than, if they did a precision strike with 3 dragons directly over the Red Keep and only blew up the Red Keep. They are dragons. They can control their fire. And let's say they only blew up the Red Keep. What did they lose? They lost, they lose the queen. Obviously, they lose the gold cloaks. They probably lose dozens of innocent citizens, but nobody in the city's gonna starve. And yeah, it was a violent, hostile takeover. Granted, it's one that I don't support because I don't think she even has moral grounds to try and take the throne at this point. So, like, how is that outcome, her impulse to just burn it down then, any different than what it is now? Because that's her impulse now, is she's just gonna go fire and blood and all that shit on the Seven Kingdoms. She's just gonna do that shit right now. So how are we any better than we were, a season and a half ago? We're not. It's the same. She ended up doing what she should have done, and what was that season? I want to say season 6 or whatever. Season 6 or season 7. She should have just done that immediately. It would have caused a lot less death. And guess what? Had she done, I even make the argument that had she done that at that point and taken the throne earlier, then they would have been in better shape to handle the Night King even. Because, I mean, you're trying to, like, we're trying to say that you couldn't just precision strike, you couldn't precision bomb a throne room. Nah, man, they're still gonna do it now. But now it's even worse that Cersei brought all of the people into the city. So it's even worse now. Now you're going to lose even more innocent life because of Tyrion. Because of Tyrion, that's right. I blame it on him. Like, there's... let's see. They never tried it because of Daenerys' impulsive behavior. But notice, Daenerys gets she got a bit of advice from Olenna Tyrell. Remember, Olenna Tyrell was like, "Oh, Tyrion's a clever man. Don't listen to clever men. Be a fucking dragon." That's what she said. And what did Daenerys do? She became a fucking dragon. She took her dragons and she did that entire assault on the Gold Train, or what, I forget what they call it. The Burning Fields, basically, where they took down Jaime's forces as they were leaving Highgarden. That was Dany's only victory on, other than you can't credit her with the Night King victory, but it was her only victory. It was her only military victory on Westerosi soil, and it was done on impulse. So look at the track record. When she listens to Tyrion, she loses 3 of her major allies. She end up. I even blame the death of Rhaegal on Tyrion as well. It was also a stupid move. Let's leave it off for now, because I guess you could argue it. So they lost the Iron Fleet, they lost Dorne, they lost the Tyrells, They lost. They lost Viserion moving north. They gained 0. They gained nothing. They gained worse than nothing because now they're in a position to where if they do want to do a precision strike on King's Landing, now they absolutely will inflict the loss of more innocent life than had they done it at season 6. Prove me wrong. Go ahead. Do the math, dude. Not a chance. It's yeah. That's the show. Now, am I team Cersei? No, I think Cersei's terrible, but I think in this circumstance, she's the person I would. I think about it. She played that Game of Thrones the true way and the hard way. She had to use marriage. She had to use alliances. She had to use subplots. She had to use assassinations. She had to use every single bit of her cunning and her intellect and her shrewdness and her sexuality, everything to keep this all in play. And bitch has been holding it down for this entire time, man. She is even think about this, man. Even when it was Tommen and my girl Marjorie, even when they were in charge of the kingdom, were they really in charge of the kingdom, or was Cersei in charge of the kingdom? Think about that. Think about when Robert Baratheon, he was in charge of the kingdom, but really it was he most of that was his hand, John Aaron, and then it was John Aaron handled most of that, and then obviously he still kind of ran it into the ground because he wanted to do all these celebrations and festivals and stuff, and he was the one that really put the crown in debt. So Robert Baratheon, obviously shitty ruler, right? Joffrey, shitty ruler because he was cruel and he did horrible shit to people, but technically no worse than his father. Except that he got assassinated. That's probably his biggest fault. And then Tommen, who wrecked the kingdom with religion. So like all those are the rulers. And then don't forget Aerys Targaryen, who burned the people alive. So those were the 4 rulers before Cersei. Those are the 4 rulers that Cersei had to survive and navigate through and around and influence to get where she is today. If anyone has earned the throne, she's earned the throne. She even had, I think about she was awarded the crown through no birthright of her own. That's wild. Like, it didn't even make sense when they, hey, what's up, Lee Jesse? It didn't even made sense when they crowned her because she had no successive right to the throne. But they had to. She was the leader of the people at that point. Like, and again, I have to keep prefacing this with no, I do not like Cersei. But I think if you're going to end the series on any sort of logical note, she has to be the one sitting on the throne. She has to be the one sitting on the throne because everybody else's claim on the throne is pretty stupid. Jon Snow has a claim on the throne, sure, and everybody, like all the fanboys, are gushing, "Oh, he's the rightful ruler." There was a whole episode where everyone was saying what a good ruler Jon would be. Word, would he be a good ruler? Would he? Come on now, he would be a shit ruler. Dude would rule with his feelings and get everybody killed. The minute there's a battle, he would make all of the worst tactical decisions possible, get all of his people killed, and he'd be like, I don't know, I love them. I love all my people. Yes, Jon Snow does love all his people, but he's a stupid fucking ruler and an absolutely worse military commander. So he shouldn't be in charge of jack shit. Prove me wrong. He shouldn't be in charge of jack shit. Anyway. But that's looking at thrones objectively. Also, I do think Jon Snow is gonna die. in the next episode. I hope he does. I hope he does because he has no point in the story now whatsoever. In fact, Jon Snow living is probably the worst thing that's happening on the War of the Throne, the War for the Throne right now. That's probably the most single-handed, complicating issue right now is the fact that he's still alive, right? The fact that he's still alive grants Danny what? Maybe we'll say maybe 6,000 Northmen. That's it. That's all he brings to the table. He brings 6,000 Northmen to the table because the wildlings decided to go back, right? So they ain't even in it no more. And then you got then the show said that half the Unsullied survived, and then I fell out of my chair laughing because we watched them all die in the last episode. And then they even mentioned the Dothraki, and we still have Dothraki. Word? There must be like 2 Blood Riders alive. Do you think them Blood Riders at this point would give a shit about like trying to get Danny her little iron chair after watching all their brothers die? Like, oh yeah, we made this great decision to make you guys charge headlong into the enemy, and yeah, it killed 98% of you. So tell you what, now that you're alive, let's march south, and then I can sit on this metal chair. How about that? It's gonna be great. It's a great guys. This is a great plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. It's gonna be so good. Word. That's that it hurt. It hurts the brain to think that there are right now millions of people at home going, oh yes, I want that to happen. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? That's what that's what you want to happen. You're rooting for the bad guys. I know it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler alert, guys. You're rooting for the fucking bad guys. What? How else am I going to explain it to you? You're rooting for the bad guys. Okay, so that's what you're doing. Prove me wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Can't wait to be wrong. Go ahead, say something. Sure, say something that's like, oh wait, no, that you made me change my mind. Suddenly we should root for Daenerys. What a great plan. Hey, what's up, Nathan? Anyway, by the way, now a word from our sponsors. This red here is it is an Army Painter red. Now, my whole take on Army Painter, we're going to talk about hobby for a minute. I know it is a painting show. This is a pretty damn good red, okay, in the grand scheme of things, right? Because I painted with Vallejo reds, which are kind of all over the map, right? Some of the reds are really good. Like Scarlet is pretty good. Their best red is a color called Carmine Red. Their flat red is pretty shit. It's pretty shitty, and this is more like Carmine Red. So I'm kind of all about this now. Now there are certain colors that Army Painter does well. I'm going to say that they do the red well, and they also have a pretty serviceable orange when it comes down to it. So if you're going to buy Army Painter, their red and orange does pretty well. Their whites, I think, are shit. Their black is fairly terrible. But the colors in the middle are pretty good. And so if you're looking for a good serviceable red, I would say this is good. P3 reds are phenomenally good. Vallejo reds are kind of all over the map. So anyways, that's kind of my 30-second review of this after painting a couple of dots with it. wait. I'll paint this kitty cat's red eyes with it as well. Yeah, let's do that. But, flows out pretty well. You do have to thin this a little bit more than you would a standard paint. But you can see that's already, thing about reds is they do separate kind of fast. So, and get used to painting. Realistically, you paint a couple of layers of red. It just reds are they don't rely on their actual pigmentation to cover. It's actually the you're actually relying on the red colorant. And companies red colorants can get very expensive, especially if you're talking like exotic reds or organic reds in paint formulation. They can be pretty expensive. That's why red paint on your house is usually pretty shit, right? It's not going to cover for like 3, 4, 5 coats unless you go out and buy yourself a nice like red that's designed to cover well, or an exotic pigment red, or a pre-tint red, where they make sure those hide pretty well. But all things considered, right? Army Painter red's decent. Okay, so anyways, the lesson for tonight is yes, Cersei Lannister, most competent person to ever sit the throne on the show Game of Thrones, deserves to retain her seat on the throne. But the next part of my argument, she deserves to retain her right to sit on the throne. This donkey here has kind of black and kind of grayish white to there. So we'll do that. We'll just. So I'm gonna turn this like black gray into a wash by just super thinning it. Right. So I'm gonna use it here. Just kind of wash it down. But I have a hard time saying Cersei is truly a bad guy, because she's done horrible stuff on a personal level. She's murdered some people, but so have the other characters. So I guess she's definitely not a good person. You could never argue that Cersei is a good person. Unless you're Tyrion Lannister, you're not a monster, and then she chops the dude's head. She chops his son's head off seconds after he says that. So Tyrion is even wrong about that, dude. Can you name something that Tyrion has done correctly in 3 seasons? Can you? He's not. I was just clowning Tyrion in the store at Comic Quest earlier today, because I was like, do you remember in the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, when everyone's like, oh, who's your favorite character? And people will go, oh, Arya is a badass, and or I really like Jon Snow's story against the undead is great. And then a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, were like, I really like Tyrion. And you want to know something? Tyrion was also one of my favorite characters on the show during the first 3 seasons, because Tyrion was pretty damn smart, right? Tyrion got himself out of basically being Catelyn Stark's hostage in season 1. He ended up being a hand of the king when Tywin went to go quell the war for the 5 kings, and he did a fantastic job. He's the hero of the Battle of Blackwater, right? He had that brilliant idea of using wildfire to stop Stannis, right? Tyrion did some pretty amazing shit in the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, and when Varys is like, you play the game so well, it's a shame and all this. I'm like, yeah, that is pretty sad. Like, I love Tyrion, but then he moves over to Essos, and dude just becomes the dumbest person on the show, like immediately, with the whole I drink and I know things thing. I'm like, no, just stop it. I drink. You don't know less than nothing, because your decisions get people killed. They cause unnecessary loss of life, and they only weaken the ruler that you're serving. Like, dude, hang it up, man. Find a new hobby. There's plenty of good shit. Like, go back to whoring. Maybe that. Okay. Let's make this argument. maybe the reason why Tyrion is so dumb in these current seasons is because he is no longer hitting them brothels, right? He said so. He said himself this episode. He's like, I haven't slept with a woman in years. I'm like, yeah. You ever seen that Seinfeld, uh, where, you know, where they theorize that uh, if you're if you don't have it, if you don't get enough sex, then you become really stupid. And then if you're getting too much sex, you could also become really stupid, depending on if you're a man or a woman. There was the episode, but George got smarter. Yeah, George got smarter as a guy, but I guess maybe for Tyrion it works in reverse. Yeah, that was a Seinfeld one where George got smarter and Elaine got dumber, right? So maybe the theory is if Tyrion isn't fed a steady diet of smash, then maybe he's an idiot because the two plotted on a graph, man. Like it's really Tyrion before when he's getting that when he's getting it right. Tyrion's decisions before he's getting it. Tyrion quit, bam! Like it just hits the floor and he just becomes stupid. It's a fact. I've been like, I was doing some stupid fuck my travel. Oh no. That is super funny, Nelson. I don't know. I think that's it's got. I think that's a more credible fan theory than all this shit you see on YouTube with like Looper and Nerd Soup. Oh, guys, I got your Game of Thrones news right here. If I did a Game of Thrones video that's like, hey, you guys want to know why Tyrion is so dumb now? And I said, and I would just say, it's because he ain't getting none. He ain't getting none, man. And plotted that shit on a graph. You, I think I have a pretty good case, is what I'm saying. I think people would take me more seriously if I did that. It's a secret I mean, kill also. You guys are depressing me. That's sad, man. Come on. True though. I think that's a more credible theory than I think Bran is the new Night King. Like the stupid theories that people have spent the last week trying to fix season 8 episode 3 with, hey guys, it was actually a good battle plan. I'm here to tell you about Game of Thrones. All those Game of Thrones like YouTube channels. I was hate watching that shit for a week and just commenting like, no, the reason why it's bad is because the shows are bad, the writer is bad, and they don't know what they're doing. Please stop coming up with theories as if the showrunners care as much about the show as you do, because they don't. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but Dave and Dan, those guys that are writing the show, they don't like the show. They don't give a shit. They do not care about the show. And in fact, they look at the fact that you care about the show so much, and me, admit, but also really like trolling. So there's that. But it, to think that Dan and Dave are like, yeah, we love our hardcore fans, that's lip service. They hate their hardcore fans. And most creators of content that gets so wildly popular that it becomes mainstream hate their hardcore fans. And they have to hate their hardcore fans. You wanna know why? Yeah. I'm talking about Ryan Johnson. I'm talking about Star Wars people hate the hardcore fans. It's because the hardcore fans are are intellectually more demanding than the other fans. Hardcore fans demand continuity. They demand logic within the rules that are set of the genre, and they cause nothing but problems once the show becomes mainstream. That's right, I said it. You're a fucking problem when you become uh, a hardcore fan of something that has become wildly popular. And they don't want you no more. They don't want you in the fandom. They don't want you. They don't want you to be around to call them on their shit, because once the show gets wildly popular, like Game of Thrones, they don't want to have to deal with continuity. They don't like your questions about Rob and Aaron. They don't think that your theories are, they don't even want to entertain your theories because it causes them to think more. All they want to do is emotionally manipulate the lowest common denominator of their audience to come back asking for more. And it is a hollow experience. Explain that to my wife. I'm like, if you look at modern movies, modern media, modern popular shit, when you watch it, you're hype as fuck, right? You are hype. You are gonna jump out of your seat and splurge all over your shorts about how hype you are, about how like, oh my god, it's in Star Wars and I love Star Wars. Like you jump out of your fucking skin to be part of this hype. And you're doing that because you have an emotional connection, you have an emotional investment in what's going on. You're living off of the nostalgia that was earnestly earned by previous creators who wanted and appreciated your support. But now you're dealing with larger corporate entities that don't want your support anymore. They can do without your dollars. They can do without your view because your movie ticket is the same value as that fucking mouth breathing, cud chewing person that's sitting next to you going, oh God, it's Star Wars again. Like they want that person so bad. They want 30 of those people. They can't stand 3 of you because you're going to ask stupid logical questions like, wait a minute, there's fuel in Star Wars now? There was never fuel in Star Wars. You're gonna ask stupid questions like, "Wait, we killed Snoke, and we didn't even understand what the hell he's about." Oh, wait a minute, you're bringing back the Emperor, thereby nullifying the entirety of the 6 movies that came before. They don't want passionate fans. They cannot stand that you love it this much. It's the sad truth. It is. You were just going, you guys are depressing. But I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Like that's the minute we understand that I have a saying and it's a horrible saying, okay? Doesn't make me a good person, but this is the truth, okay? God, I feel bad because you guys are young and impressionable, just trying to do your thing in life. But I'm gonna say something and it's really fucking awful, okay? All right, here we go. The person who loves least in a relationship holds the most power. Okay? And that's true it's true in any relationship. And that includes creators and fans. Okay? The person who loves the least holds the most amount of power. Uh, that's why when you complain about shit like this, they go, all the fucking normies come by and they go, no, it's just a show with dragons. Shut the fuck up. It's just a show with dragons. Like they do that because they love that less than you do. Okay. And they find your love and passion for that upsetting. And the fact is that you and I have been on both sides of that equation on several things in life, right? There are things that we're passionate about, right? Me and Nathan passionate as fuck about Guild Ball. Other people not as passionate about Guild Ball. But but who holds the power in the Guild Ball community? It's not us. It's not the hardcore people. It's the creators that like the game less than we do, and it's the teeming masses of casual players that continue to throw money at the game and want to and will eventually be the ones that grow out the game. It's a fact. It's a sad fact. That's why selling out is a thing. That you have to understand that if you are passionate about something, love it while you can because that shit is fickle. It's gonna leave. And understand that when you love something like that you're giving it power over you. That you're giving the people that create that thing or the people that make that thing popular, you're giving them power over you. You don't know if the Emperor will be back for sure. But if he is, he better be cleansed that their body degenerate very quickly. Well, I think if the I do think that if the Emperor comes back, I think that completely destroys any. It destroys all of the lore before that. That Darth Vader, uh, aka Anakin Skywalker, was the prophesized one to bring balance back to the Force, and that the death of the Emperor held any meaning at all. It's already fairly meaningless because all that entire hero's arc that Luke Skywalker went through in the original trilogy is now null and void because the dude spent 30 fucking years jacking off on a rock. That like he did not found a Jedi school, and he ended up in a worse place than he would had he never like had Luke Skywalker never become a Jedi. Do you think he would really want to kill his own nephew in his sleep? You know what I mean? That's a pretty deep emotional. I'm sorry. That's a pretty steep moral drop to go from I'm going to defend my father Luke Skywalker with my very life because I hold on to some shred of hope that he's a decent man underneath it all. To I think that my nephew might be a Sith. Let's kill him while he's sleeping. Like that's a pretty big, that's a pretty gigantic moral drop there in character for Luke Skywalker. Like Luke Skywalker is is a story of ultimate failure. He is not the story of a hero of an empire, especially not if the outcome of the three movies that he starred in was that the main bad guy lived, and that the empire out survived a free republic and came back as the First Order, and then developed a weapon way more powerful than the Death Star. How do you explain what was the fruit? What was the point of the good guys doing anything in that original trilogy of films if we are where we are today? Like, just apply a little bit of logic to these things, and sadly, it just starts unraveling. It just and it's bad, guys. That's what happens. Thanks, Ryan Johnson. But here's the thing, Ryan Johnson. If you take what I said, my theory that Ryan Johnson it has been set uh, that Ryan Johnson has been set upon the Star Wars community to purge them of passionate fans and to bring on the next generation of fans who will slop up anything without questioning it. Then the guy is a genius. The guy has been able to spoon feed you mouthfuls of dog shit into your mouth and make you blindly accept horrible truths about Star Wars and the heroes that you followed for decades, and go, oh yeah, I can't wait to see the next Star Wars. Like he has been able to do that. The guy's a fucking genius, right? The guy has just outsold the guy that sold snow to Eskimos at that point. Hope Star Wars Rogue One. That's why. Rogue One was great because all of those people died so that they could blow up a Death Star that they try to remake in the third movie, and then finally they figure out, hey, let's just make one that blows up an entire solar system. Right? Ooh, oh man, so bad. Yeah, I mean, the only way that you can ever vindicate heroes is if they deter if they eradicate a threat, if they defeat a villain and leave the world a better place than they found. And the truth is, if you stretch that out over enough time, you could always argue that the heroes did not do what they intended because the world has a tendency to go to shit all the time. But in the case of Star Wars, you can actually deliberately argue that all of the efforts of the rebels has done nothing but made the Empire stronger and stronger as the movies went on. And that's shit. Like, had they done nothing and the Empire was just allowed to rule the way it would rule, then the Empire would develop a weapon like the Death Star. They may even use it a couple of times, but they wouldn't have much reason to make anything worse. And they wouldn't have much reason to do any worse than they currently were. Yes, people live in shit and subjugation in their empire, but as soon as their the people who defeated the empire were completely ineffective at establishing a means by which another empire could not come back. So years, a very, very short amount of time. That would be like us winning the Revolutionary War and then developing democratic form, and then a country stronger comes by and starts taxing us harder than we've ever been taxed. Would, by any terms, would not be considered a successful revolution because you left the place shittier than you found it. All right, let's. So he's got like this weird like sunshine hat on his thing. Let's do that. How does one do that? Let's try this candlelight yellow. But yeah. Anyways, back to my original point. Game of Thrones is really you're if you're rooting for Jon and Dany for Game of Thrones, in my opinion, you're rooting for you're rooting for poor governorship because you feel it's morally better. And I would never vote for that personally. Because I am a self-serving person. I understand that. Like, oh, you need to stop eating and stop driving because that's bad for future generations. I'm going to be like, fuck you in your head. I'm going to feed my kids. I'm going to work my job, and I want a ruler that understands that that's what I came here to do. My wife was upset at the show. She but for a totally different reason. She was upset that what they did to Brienne and Jamie. Like, Brienne and Jamie should not have gotten together. That was super dumb, and the writers did that specifically for emotional manipulation of the audience. They wanted they wanted people to the people that were shit. They wanted them to go, oh my God, Jamie and Brienne finally got together, so great, you guys. And they got to do that for about 40 minutes. And then Jamie's like, nah, bitch, I'm out. And he left. And at the time, and my wife was so mad because she was against them ever sort of consummating their romantic feelings. And I agree with her. I think that it would have been better if they just left what they had at tension and never really fan serviced that arc. But showrunners, again, they're looking for emotional responses. They don't really give a shit, like, logistically how that's supposed to work. And then they still need to pay off this idea that Jamie needs to die with Cersei. So of course they're going to do that. They wanted to take the audience on that emotional roller. They're like, oh, our audience is going to think finally Jamie has turned the tide for the best, and he's now gonna ride off into the sunset with Brienne, and they're gonna be together forever, right? Now, granted, there are some stupid fucking fans that believed that for a minute, and for you, if you're one of them fans, I'm gonna politely say, just give up now. Just give, just give up now. Like if you couldn't see that coming from a mile away, it's time to hang it up, dude. Like, but this show is specifically written for you. Like they mission accomplished. The stupid people that they film in the Burlington bar that's cheering, yeah, everyone, it's a night good. Like those stupid, those complete cud chewing idiots that they shoot reacting that way. My take on it is Jamie is a very, very good man, but he sees it as his destiny to he's getting to rid the world of of Cersei once and for all, and he wants to die with her. You know, he wants that to be a very redemptive thing for himself. So I don't think it ruined his story arc at all. I think it, in Jamie's mind, it makes him a little more heroic. He probably sees himself as being a little more heroic for wanting to go out that way. And you can feel how I feel about it because again, I don't give a shit. Did we run through some crazy lag spikes? I guess there are people getting angry with my fan theories, and then leaving. I can only assume. In which case, awesome. I think it's great. Thank you for being mad. If you were mad. But yeah. All right. So we got a donkey here. We only painted one thing tonight. That's okay. I only had about an hour. And these are fairly complex pieces, as you can see. Let's paint some black here. And I think I've been doing way more talking than painting anyway. So yeah. I think the one part where I'm being dishonest is saying that I don't like this show. I derive a certain amount of entertainment wrecking the show for people. Pretty much. I mean, it's I that's the role that I play. And you're free to tune into it or tune out of it. Doesn't matter. But yeah, yeah. Here to Am I intentionally kind of shitting on things? Yes. Probably, because I do think it's super bad writing. And I will say this though, like some of my favorite things about tonight's episode was I think Emilia Clarke, who I frankly considered to be a fairly bad actress since the beginning of the series. I never really felt her performances were very compelling. Holy shit. Really choppy, isn't it? Never really felt like her performances were particularly good. But the nonverbal was crazy good. It was super good. Like the end of the episode specifically, you know, when she sees Missandei get beheaded, and then her face just gets it just gets turned, to steal a phrase from these millennials. Turned is pretty nuts. Like you could see the crazy welling within her, and I was like, dude, good job, Amelia. Beginning of the episode when they're at Winterfell and they're celebrating their victory. Yeah, turnt. I know turnt means usually like drunk or whatever, but I like using turnt like trigger because it's funny. But when she was at Winterfell and they were celebrating, and Tormund is toasting Jon, like, hey, he's a king, he's a ruler, I'd follow him, and he's a great man, and all this stuff. And you could see Dany look down the room and going, holy shit, I'm alone up here. No one loves me up here. They don't like me. Like, I don't know about you, but Marine should be starting a really good gig right about then. You know what I mean? She's like, she could be thinking, I I rule. I ruled Marine, and I did a pretty good job over there, and I was respected and loved, and man. But I come over here to Westeros thinking, hey, I got a great name. I should be in charge, and everyone's like, who the fuck are you? Like that's pretty. This is a pretty cool scene. Just the look on her face that conveyed all of that was pretty cool. And that's some dope shit right there. I don't really have time to paint it, but we can hang out for a little bit longer. I'll paint a little bit of it. We'll paint a little bit. We'll do that. Whew. I wonder how many people are arguing on my meme that I posted. Let's see. Oh, please be quieter. Okay. Whoops. All right. So I'm going to try to be, there's baby sleeping upstairs, so I can be quiet. All right. Anyway, I'm sure that upset a lot of fanboys, me posting this. Okay. Anyway, let us finish painting this. We're not finished, but let's paint a little bit blonde hair on this faceless here. If I can find the color I use for blonde hair. I didn't know it turned. So, yeah. So people were coming up with fan theories all week about the Night King still being alive and all this, trying to fix the show. And nope, he's dead. He is really dead. Even the showrunners, they're on I want to say Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, one of the Jimmys, and the flames of fan theories. But no, we know that's all bullshit. That would require the showrunners to actually care about trying to tell a good story. And I think at this point, if you think they're still trying to tell a story, then what was I saying tonight? Oh yeah, give up. Yeah, time to hang it up. Jimmy Neutron. Yes. One of them late night Jimmys. The Night King's still alive, guys. He's not. Stop. Stop. Even reviewers that I respect and like on YouTube, I had to just jump in and go, I think you're great most of the time, but at this point you're just trying to apologize for bad writing. Like we need to stop that. We need to stop apologizing for bad writing. We need to just acknowledge that it's bad writing and it's dumb and it doesn't make sense, and people wrote it because they were lazy and they were hoping they wanted a specific emotional response from you, and they wanted you to sort of hey, what's up, Roaring House? They wanted a specific response from you, and then they wanted you to kind of mourn. I mean, that's really, they were the people coming up with the dance theories over the past week. They were like in the stages of mourning where they were still in. And I think, and then you could see the same as the week went on, go from denial to anger, and then bargaining, and then finally acceptance this week. They really did. They really went through the stages of doing that. And I guess they would have to. It's just shocking to me, though, that people that really, some of the people they consider to be very insightful viewers, that they're only just now recognizing that the writing on the show is abysmal and has been abysmal like 3 seasons now. So but yeah, that's I don't know. We can talk theories about what. Oh gosh, really? I'm just gonna have to let that dry. That yellow kind of ran behind there, and I'm just gonna leave it. So that way I can. Actually, I should probably base coat the mirror right now. So we're gonna start with like a blue, like a cold blue, and then we'll work our way back. So I need a very specific color here. Here it is. Okay, so we're going to use steel gray to base coat the mirror. Mirror is going to be one of the hardest things to paint. Okay, so here we go. There's like additional stuff back here. I guess the best way to do this is going to be to paint it the steel blue in the back. Then I'm going to have to wash it. Once that's dry, apply a super highlight to it. And then like highlight it all the way up from black to white, essentially, with this color here kind of being, you see how it's kind of like blue steely mirror like finish. I don't know if any of that made sense, but is what we're doing. It is a really cool mirror. Okay, so it looks like either I got disconnected or everyone decided to tune out, which is cool either way. But I will go ahead and turn this off in a minute. All right, so a couple of other things I got going on this week. I do have a Guild Ball match report. Is Blacksmiths, very interesting game. It's kind of my farewell game to honor since Corbelli will be in this week. I will be painting Rivet, at least Rivet and Corbelli on stream this week, and hopefully I want to get in maybe some games with Rivet, maybe with both, but I kind of want to maybe